People say I've got a great smile. Well, I have to say, this is all thanks to the professional team at Beacon Dental Group right here in Dorchester, Massachusetts. I've got world-class dental care. Beacon Dental Group has expert and caring staff dedicated to providing the most advanced and satisfactory treatment in all aspects of oral health. Their services are designed to meet your needs and give you a perfect smile, too. General checkups, cosmetic surgery, Gemini laser service, and advanced procedures, all in a state-of-the-art facility. Call or visit Beacon Dental Group today, 1026 Blue Hill Avenue, Dorchester, Massachusetts, or call 617-282-2146 for a smile that lights the world.
Hello, good morning out there in cyberspace, the virtual world, whatever you want to call it. What a pleasure it is to come before you one more time on CB's Corner. Thank you, Beacon Dental Group, for sponsoring us. Thank you, Dr. Joseph and the crew at Beacon Dental Group. Just had an awesome time in Atlanta where we were doing some training to treat our community even better. But I'm excited as usual. I always am so excited on CB's Corner because I always have special guests. My guests are all special people, part of the circle of CB's Corner. And I have a brother, a friend, a relative that we go way back when, and he is none other than Earl Carlton Dangleben. Didn't know him as Earl until recently, but we all knew him as Carlton, and he's a great man, a great businessman, a great husband, and we are just so pleased and fortunate to have him take some time from his busy schedule to come and grace our platform. Welcome, Earl Carlton Dangleben. Welcome to CB's Corner.
Hey, thank you, Coffee. It's always great to see you. That smile never went away, huh? It's going to be there for a long time.
Well, thank you for that, and I give God thanks and praise for that, and a wonderful wife who makes sure that I have wonderful teeth. So, so thank you. But as you said, I always also want to give kudos to my auntie, Martha Jerigo, who told me some 50 years ago that all I have to do is smile, even when people criticize me for my big teeth, and that has never left. So thank you to my auntie Martha. I always want to give her kudos of flowers while she can still smell them. So here you are, sir. You are on CB's Corner. I've been trying to track you down, but you are a traveler, world traveler. You go across the globe, from Africa to China to all over the place. And you are by trade, I believe it says you are a senior corrosion control technologist. Before I go into anything, can you tell me what that is all about?
Well, what it is about, the senior corrosion control technologies, primarily our job is to prevent explosions of pipelines, leakage of tanks, whether it be offshore or onshore, in essence, to protect the environment. So that is my job. That's what I do for a living, and I can tell you it can be very, very challenging, to say the least.
Challenging, hazardous, dangerous, absolutely. So thank you for giving us that in a nutshell. But let's go back and see where you came from. You are from the east coast of Dominica. You were born in the village of Cassabruce, just like me. Your parents are Cassabruce and Saint-Sauveur. And you went to the Cassabruce Government School. And just like me, you went to the St. Mary's Academy. Are you following me, man? And then just like me, you came to the United States. So tell us about that journey as you studied your primary school education to your high school education and then migrating to the United States.
Well, being from Cassabruce, I generally joke and say that is, that's the de facto capital of Dominica. I'm very proud of that. After attending the Cassabruce Government School, I did some years at the Saint-Sauveur Government School, and then moved to the St. Mary's Academy, where Mr. Joseph, I remember you being the ace cricketer. And I remember Brother Jimmy saying to me, I was in first form, and he said, "You know Comfort Joseph?" And I said, "Yes, I sure do." And he said, "If you would follow in his footsteps, you would be a great person." And me being me, I looked at, all right, okay, yes, I know Cuthbert. But then as soon as I settled down and the cricket action started, I came to understand why. So I think I told you that in the past, but if I hadn't, I'd say that right here. You were indeed an inspiration to me because I followed in your footsteps and I started playing cricket for the St. Mary's Academy because I wanted to be like you. Having said that, when I left the St. Mary's Academy, I joined the Condor for Dominica Police Force, where I served primarily in the outstation and the CI Criminal Investigations Department. Then it was time to move to greener pastures. And like you, I left and came to Houston, Texas, where my brother was residing. And I'm still here today. That journey was a very difficult one because when you get into the United States and you really want to move on, and there's not somebody you can latch onto to hold your hands and lead the way, things can become very sour real quick. But being as resilient as we are, and I say we from my village, how we were raised never to give up, I persisted. And after going on the job in the offshore industry on an oil platform, that was my first job. After 2 weeks, I fell in love with offshore number one and corrosion control. Hence, that gave me a direction as to where I should focus on.
Well, that is great. And as is the case, many of us who leave our country for greener pastures, we find sooner than later that it is not as green as we thought. But I like the word that you use, resiliency, that you have a foundation that tells you no matter what it is that you're experiencing, that if you push forward, you certainly can overcome. And I read in your bio, you said that one of the things that you learned earlier on from your father is that if you shoot for the stars, you may not make it. And then when you fall, you will have nothing to hang to. But if you shoot for beyond the stars, if you fall, you will fall among the stars. I like that. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Well, my dad, he was a school principal, obviously, at one point, and he believes he's a philosopher for some reason. so he and his friend was having a conversation about success, and I'm sitting there as a young boy, and he's telling his friend, "You're not listening to what I'm telling you." So he says, "I'm going to tell it to you in a different way." And he said to him, and while he said, "I'm going to talk to my son," who is sitting there at the same time, "never reach for the stars." He said, "This is something that we must stop saying, because those who reach for the stars, when they get there, if they never get there, they always fall back to earth, and then they're right where they started. But if you reach beyond the stars, if you don't get there, you're still going to be among the stars. So therefore, you have achieved." And he looked at me after he said that, and he said, "Did you hear me?" And I said, "Yes, Dad." He said, "Take that and carry it for life." I'll never forget that.
Well, that's good advice. He certainly was a good philosopher in that regard. And so you that at the back of your mind, having had the foundation you had from the St. Mary's Academy, because from my point of view, if you went to the St. Mary's Academy, that's a solid foundation. If you made it through that 5 years, and that can take you through anywhere. That is solid. SMA, solid men of action. That's what Brother Jermaine told me one time.
That's right.
So you are in Houston. You are going through your difficulties, like all of us. We don't have to go into details here, but you get into this business and you say, "You know what? This is something that I can stick my teeth into and make it." And so, what did you do once you figured that out? What did you have to do to get to the point where you can take advantage of that situation?
Well, once that job, I stayed on the job for about a year, going back and forth, and I had the opportunity to meet certain inspectors, people that inspected the jobs upon completion. Well, me being as inquisitive and being led by what my father would want me to do, I'm coming from SMA, I'll say that. I started asking questions, and there I learned from the inspectors the schools that I should attend. So I went back from offshore and I signed up at San Jacinto College. It was the first thing I did in Houston. and I studied welding inspection and metallurgy. While I was doing this, I was actually in welding school at the same time. So here I'm doing the theory on one side, and I'm doing the practical at the other end. So in the daytime, I was at one, and nighttime, I was at the other, just going nonstop. Once that was finished, I basically asked the question of how do I get into Corrosion School? That's why I ended up with NACE International. NACE International, as a background, is the Global Society for Corrosion. They just merged with SSPC, which was the Steel Structure Painting Council of America at one time for industry. And then I sat the exams. There are 3 levels. I sat the exam, and I came off number 1. Now, it was funny because I broke the record. I was the first person since NACE started in 1939 to get 100% on a level 1 exam.
Wow.
I was encouraged. So
awesome.
I went to level 2, broke the record again. I got 100. At that time, I started working with a company called IMCON, Industrial Maintenance Contractors, and my boss said to me, if you would do the level 3, I'll pay for it, because they needed somebody for a huge project that was coming up. So I went back and did the level 3, and then I broke the record again.
Wow.
So as soon as I was done, well, the executive board, I got a letter from the executive board. They wrote to me and asked me to become an instructor, and I turned it down because I wanted to focus on getting out in the field. Hence, I went back to my company, and I was made an area superintendent, and it began from there. Then 3 years later, I got the call again and said, we really want you to come out and teach for us. Will you do that? And I was obliged. I took up the position. So I was doing this part-time, and I started traveling all over the world. And then I started my own business after about 5 or 6 years.
Well, awesome. And that's great, man. Record-breaking gentleman from the small island of Dominica. Proud of you. And I know, we all look at you and we're proud that we can associate with you and say, he's from Dominica and I'm from Dominica. And so your area of expertise as an instructor, as a consultant, you said you've been to China, you've been to Congo, you've been to many places. And so give us a little more detail as to what you do in terms of, because we know what you do ultimately is environmental protection, so that, explosions don't happen. And so we don't have spillage of oil and gas, because that's what you are in. So give us a more detailed idea as to what you instruct people about.
Well, in the field of corrosion control, essentially you have 3 processes. You have internal corrosion, obviously, which you treat with chemicals. And you have external corrosion that you utilize protective coatings and cathodic protection. Now, I do all 3, but I focus primarily on what we call the primary defense against corrosion is protective coatings. So for instance, the pipeline is going underground. Well, you're going to have certain bacteria that's going to attack the pipe. My job is to analyze the soils, know what we have, and what protective coatings will work best in that particular environment. Then I write the specifications for it. And cathodic protection is, in a nutshell, is taking electrical current, passing it through a box which we call a rectifier, and using that electrical current at extremely low voltages to prevent the pipeline from corroding in case the protective coatings fail. So that's the areas I focus on. That's the areas I teach.
Awesome. And so, you get a call from China to come and investigate stuff, or your boss send you, because is your company working with companies in China, or are you working directly with the government? How does that work?
Well, I had a relationship with a company out of Hong Kong, and I got a call one day that basically said, CNOOC, which is China's biggest oil and gas company, they have a platform in the South China Sea that they built about 4 years ago, and it looks like, for lack of a better term, a rusty bucket. So they said, well, we've been asking around who can help us fix the problem, and your name keep popping up. Can you come? I'd never been to China. That was some time back, and I was very skeptical. But ultimately, I got a little pressure from colleagues that knew me, and said, you need to go. It's going to be good for your reputation. And I said, all right, fine. So I went to China and signed up with CNOC, and that was the beginning of a journey where I actually started the work first, and ultimately, when NACE International wanted to send people back to China to teach, I was the lead instructor that delivered the first NACE International course in Beijing, China. It had never been done before.
Oh, that's awesome. That's great. That's awesome
another
stuff
first.
to be on your resume. You are making records, the first and the first and the first. And so you currently work for a company that does mostly transportation. And talk to us about that.
Yeah, I work for a company that is referred to as a midstream company, 11,000 employees. So 2 years ago, I got the call, and because my company was a small company, I actually owned about 50% in it, and I was just tired. I was tired of the travel per se. I just wanted to get out. So we came to an agreement, and I handed over my shares to my business partner, and I moved in with this company that really they needed help. They own quite a bit of, we own about, at last count, we own about 11,000 miles of pipelines in the United States. That is directly. And we own most likely an additional maybe 15,000 miles of pipeline again by owning smaller companies. We also own quite a few tanks. So as soon as I started with the company, they brought me on to be the SME. As a matter of fact, in my company profile, it will tell you that I'm the subject matter expert for everything that is built new. So everything capital projects, the corrosion protection systems must go through me for approval before it is installed in the field. So that's where I am.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. And so in transportation business, I'm imagining you talk about pipelines. So do you have them from Texas, say, to New York, from Canada to United States? Give us an idea as to how that works.
All of the above. So for instance, we have a pipeline that runs from North Dakota all the way to Houston. We have another pipeline right now that we're being, I just came back from Gainesville, Florida, where that line is running. We have new lines that are being built, and those lines, they actually come all the way from Oregon here. So we have pipelines, we say that are both interstate. Interstate, we basically classify it as they run from state through various states before they get to the destination, to the port of Houston or to storage tanks. And then we have what we call intrastate. Intrastate meaning, since we're in Texas, we have quite a network of pipelines in Texas, a lot. So those do not go into another state, but everything is done within the state. So when I look at it, we have quite a lot of pipes running interstate. And that's where it gets challenging, because obviously you're crossing, you have federal, you have state, you have city, you have counties, and every one of them may vary in the regulation that may be stricter than the federal government. So this is where I'm challenged a lot of times.
I can imagine. I don't know if you can talk to this, but was it last year or a year before, there was a major issue in Texas with the storm. Did that have any impact on your company in terms of delivering? I know it was electricals, but I know you do gas and oil. So did that have any impact on your business?
It did not. As a matter of fact, I'll say that the company did well, because we are, I'll say, the major gas producer, transportation, because when everything else failed, all the other companies went down. Our company, because of the way our facilities are designed, was able to survive and keep that gas going. So the areas where you actually still had electricity, most likely that gas that generated that electricity was coming from us.
Awesome stuff. All right. So let's scenario. I just migrate to Houston. I am interested in becoming a specialist, or at least working in industry, what kind of advice would you give me as somebody that just comes to Houston and I'm looking to go in that area?
First advice I would give is you have to be committed. Second advice is what you're going to learn today, it's only going to get you in the door. You must be always willing to open up your minds. And you're going to have a lot of pushback. And there are various reasons why, why you're gonna be pushed back. And again, because we have an accent. Some people, they tend to say, well, he has an accent, I can't understand him. That is not necessarily the case when you're going to run into that. You're going to have an area where what we talk about, a lot of people don't like to talk about it. This is the South, and a little bit of racial discrimination still exists. And the third one is, if you doesn't have the desire to push walls out of your way, then this is the wrong one for you. But if you really decide that that's what you want to get into, I generally hold your hands and take them and say, all right, you're going to register for this course. That's when I'll be teaching. I can spend a little more time with you and we can all move forward. But I generally hold people by the hand and say, come on, I'll show you how to do it.
Absolutely. And that is one of the things that that I don't know if it is lacking now, but I know it was lacking in my time at least. You don't find a lot of people that are willing to pull you along. And I hope that has changed. And certainly I give you kudos for wanting to help people, as long as they desire us to succeed, to show them the path and letting them know that it is not all roses. There are thorns along the way that you might have to encounter, but you don't allow those thorns to discourage you. But you go through them. And I like that. That is certainly one of the principles that I've learned over the years, that when you come and you face a mountain, if you cannot go through it, you go around it, you climb it, but you have to get to the other side. Of course, from a Christian point of view, I always say to my friends or people who listen to me, you're not traveling this journey alone. And if you trust in God, he can help you to get to the other side. So I give you kudos for that. Thank you so much. But I always want to bring it back to what can I do, having acquired what I've acquired and having acquired what you have acquired. How can I give back to society in general, but more specifically to the place of your birth, where you came from? How can you use what you have learned to benefit a small nation such as Dominica?
Coffee, every time I go home and I drive around, I am tempted to say, I'm not going back to the US. But what I'm also mindful of is, what can I do to assist our people back home? And I will tell you, when we look at the ports that we have in the port facilities, the bridges, you can talk about the stadiums and anything that is built of metal, I see them in a dilapidated condition. Sorry about that.
That's okay. Technology, go ahead.
So what happened is, I'm always willing to meet with the government, the engineers back there, to, even if it's a wrong table, one day to sit down and talk with them as to how we can have those assets that cost so much money protected. Because say, for instance, we build a bridge in Dominica. Your base structure is most likely going to be carbon steel. When you take it and you drop it in an environment without the required protective coatings to fit that particular environment, it's going to deteriorate. And what happens is, rather than having a bridge that's supposed to last you 50 years, you have a bridge that's within 20 years, it's gone. So I'm always willing. I can't say it enough that one day somebody will say, hey, can you come and help us? And I'm willing to go.
Well, we can make it happen, brother. And so one of the things that I would love to do is to utilize, have all of us that have migrated and have gotten knowledge and have acquired skills, And certainly we thank America, and wherever we have learned those skills, we thank them for that. And we have given to them for giving it to us. But we certainly want to come back and help put back some of that knowledge that we have gained into the place that built us up. Because if we were not started there, we couldn't be where we are today. And so I believe your skills are very important and necessary and needed. And we will do what we can to make sure that those skills are utilized, not just here in the United States, but in the Caribbean and specifically in the island of Dominica. So one of these days, who knows, all of that special training you have can be utilized, and the center can be in Dominica, where we can launch some kind of help in the Caribbean all over. So because your skills, indeed, based on the fact that you are needed in Africa, you go to over in the Middle East and over in China, I think we can certainly use you in Dominica as well. We have a couple more minutes. I always want to give you the last few minutes to just talk to young people in general. Again, what they can do, how they can overcome obstacles, especially you being who you are, having gone through what you've gone through, and to be at the top in your area of expertise. Just give us some general ideas, some guidance, some positivity before we end our program today.
Colbert, thanks again. But what I want to tell the kids back home, if I had to speak to them one-on-one, is stop believing that you can't do better for yourself. And the reason I'm saying that is because too many times I go home, or even right here in the United States, and I find the youth that are tied to Dominica, they're in a world like they're lost. There is hope, there is help. When you get to the mountain, don't look at it from the base and say, I'm not going to make it. You have to get that bag, put it on your back, and start climbing. Stop believing that you cannot achieve what somebody else from your community, your humble beginnings. You stop believing you can't get where they've gone. And I will go back to you and tell you that you were the inspiration for me when I played cricket at the St. Mary's Academy. You were back there in the trenches, and you left a name. I don't know if many people know that, but you left an impeccable name. And I always tried to, but I could not be you. So I'm telling the kids of today, there is hope, but you have to find it within you. Number one, to be tolerant. Number two, to be respectful. And number three, to be resilient in order to make it in this world. And please reach out to the professionals. Don't think that you know it all because you've gone to school for 3 years and you're out there, nobody can say anything to you. Please stop and listen, and we will give you a helping hand.
Awesome. These are great advice, man. I appreciate it. I am glad that I didn't know that that I had such an impression on you, but certainly in terms of cricket and whatever I do, typically I give it my best. I don't know where that came from. I am told, my kids tell me that I'm competitive. They tell me I hate to win. I hate to lose. And I tell them I just like to win. That's the difference. I just like to win. But certainly you are right. And so I appreciate that. And I was in a conference over the weekend. And one of the things that we also must also remember is we should never stop learning. We're never too old to learn. And I learned something over the weekend that I will try to remember forever. We used to say garbage in, garbage out. And the guy says, no, not garbage in, garbage out. Garbage in, garbage stays. so don't get garbage in your system. Wisdom in, wisdom out. And so that's a good quote to follow. And I will certainly keep the one that I read about you and your father in, don't aim for the stars, aim for beyond the stars. For in case I don't reach the stars, when I fall, I will fall among the stars. Thank you so much for your time, my friend. It's a pleasure always. I know there's a whole lot more that we can talk about, and I certainly will want to bring you back again. So for all those of you that have followed, I want to thank you for watching. I want to thank my friend Carlton Dangleben. We know him as Carlton, but in America they call him Earl. And nice to see you, man. I wish I could have been with you guys. By the way, I didn't tell you that Carlton also is the president of the Dominica Houston Association. So he's giving back already. And so, but I want him to give back in a more specific way in terms of utilizing his skills to help Dominica. One more word from you, brother, and then we'll say goodbye.
Well, I just want to thank you for giving me the opportunity, Coffee, and keep doing what you're doing. If you could inspire me, there are people out there you can still inspire. Thank you very much.
Thank you, my friend. And as we say, we try to inspire, we try to encourage, and we try to speak some positivity. You are blessed. May God bless you in the city. May God bless you in the field. May God bless you when you rise, and may God bless you when you sit down. Until next time, this is yours truly saying peace and love. Love you, my brother. Talk to you soon.
All right.
People say I've got a great smile. Well, I have to say, this is all thanks to the professional team at Beacon Dental Group right here in Dorchester, Massachusetts. I've got world-class dental care. Beacon Dental Group has expert and caring staff dedicated to providing the most advanced and satisfactory treatment in all aspects of oral health. Their services are designed to meet your needs and give you a perfect smile, too. General checkups, cosmetic surgery, Gemini laser service, and advanced procedures, all in a state-of-the-art facility. Call or visit Beacon Dental Group today, 1026 Blue Hill Avenue, Dorchester, Massachusetts, or call 617-282-2146 for a smile that lights the world.